Hello and welcome to Compliance Clips. Today we're going to be speaking with Jackie Starkewski of the WSIB as we cover the introduction of the new owner-operator status determination form and process for independent operators in the transportation industry.
Hey, thanks for joining us today here. We're having a conversation with Jackie of WSIB, and we're talking about the new protocol with regards to validating an owner operator. So, Jackie, tell us what you know, what you got happening, and what you can share with our listeners and our audience.
Well, I am happy to. So, as we know, there has been a bit of a change to our independent operator, as we call them here at WSIB, questionnaires. So, typically we had 5 or 6 of them. We've actually condensed them down to 3. So the one that we're going to focus on today is for the transportation industry, which includes trucking. So that's our owner operators. What we've done is we've simplified the whole process. So what we've done is we've condensed this entire process. We've removed the supporting documentation aspect of it. Internally, we actually look up that information to confirm the owner's, the ownership of the corporation, if that's how they're operating. We don't make them send in that supporting documentation. We also don't make them send in the ownership any longer. What we ask for, and this is just the form that we have filled up here, as you can see, the beginning part goes through, who applies for this form, or who this form applies to rather, what they need to submit, which really is just a copy of the license plate vehicle portion of the permit, and the questionnaire, and if applicable they can put in their lease agreement. But what it all boils down to is they only have to complete this form once per VIN. So even if they are driving for different principals, if they have filled this form out once before with that vehicle, they do not have to fill out this form again. So these status determinations, now instead of being applied per, relationship between the owner operator and the principal, they're actually now by VIN. So as we know, a lot of owner operators, they drive the same vehicle for years. So if they have one status determination determining them to be an independent operator with that VIN, they are good to go until they get another vehicle. So with that, the form itself looks very similar to how it used to look, because we've also included the couriers and the delivery drivers like your Ubers, your Lyfts into this same questionnaire. There is some verbiage there for them. But as far as the trucking industry is concerned, this portion looks almost the same as it did on the old form. It just has a heavier focus on the VIN. They then sign it on this page. They do put the principal name for that very first contract, but once they've done it one time, they never have to do it again. The new status determination letter that we send them has a paragraph in it saying that this status determination is for all principals, provided that this is the VIN number that this driver is using. Was there any questions? I know it was a lot of information very quickly.
Mr. Morgan?
I don't suppose you have a sample of that letter.
Of the letter?
That would be sent just so that the audience could kind of say, oh, this is what I'm going to be looking at seeing.
I don't have necessarily what it looks like.
Okay, perhaps we can get one later. So then in the new process for a hiring employer, basically the owner operator would present your determination of owner operator status. The company verifies the VIN is the same, and we're good to go when it comes to any due diligence requirements with respect to WSIB going forward or anything like that. As long as we have a copy of that letter, we've met all our requirements. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes, absolutely. Wow. So it's
That's
up to the principal to confirm that the VIN number that they're providing is the same as what's on the status determination. That's it.
So is there And we hate to have to acknowledge this exists, but when we look at some of the documentation that's used in pre-employment positions, there's been a little bit of a black market in making
Fraudulent documents.
yes, thank you. That's where we were going. Very, very good summary there. Hey, you're on with us. What if any checks and balances are provided for the employer, would be available for the employer so that they can confirm that it's not a fraudulent document?
If the employer or the principal at any time is maybe leery, suspicious, not comfortable going forward, they can always give us a call and we can check into it and we can take a look, because that letter is attached, or that VIN is attached to that individual.
So that would be a matter of phoning up our WSIB contact for the account and saying, okay, I've got a status letter on this particular driver. I got a couple of red flags. Can you just confirm for me that this is the VIN number and the file exists? And that would be it?
Yeah,
Wow.
absolutely.
Okay. All right.
You can give us a call at the 1-800 number, or if you've got somebody that you're dealing with in stakeholder relations, by all means, you can call them as well. These letters can be reissued at any time. So if there is a situation where the owner operator is on the road, they've got a new job coming up, but they're on the road, so they don't have a copy of it, we can actually email that letter to them at any time.
So then when the owner operator does replace his vehicle, usually he's doing so while employed at a company that, actively ongoing and employed there. It would be a situation where, okay, you got a new VIN, we need to make sure that you apply for a new determination letter at this point and put that on file.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And with this, because this is reducing overall the number of questionnaires that we are approving here, what we call our cycle times, or basically our turnaround on it, are a lot lower. So I know in the past, sometimes these status determinations could take weeks to get out.
Yep.
That's no longer the case.
And in your preamble, and this isn't an area that I work, but you did touch on the fact that this is now reaching out and covering the last mile, as it's being referred to, those folks who are doing the Amazons and the Ubers and the Lyfts.
Yes.
So here's a question for you. Some of the last mile delivery operators that I've seen are driving rental vans. So they're actually going out and they're just going into a short-term arrangement with a rental company to deliver it on either a part-time or maybe even while they're waiting for the arrival of their vehicle, because you can't just go on a lot and buy a vehicle anymore.
Yes.
What is how does that fit into this specific situation? What's that worker's status with respect to, are they, because you can't really issue that for a short-term rental arrangement, right?
No, and because at that time when they're providing their ownership to the principal, and that the ownership isn't going to be in their name, right? Because they're renting it. We typically wouldn't deem them independent if they're using a rental vehicle. If they're using a vehicle such as, let's say I'm now driving an Uber delivery and I've got my mom's car that I'm driving. If there's some sort of agreement that I have between my mother and I that we're driving, we ask for a copy of that to prove it, because the ownership's not in my name. So we have kind of different things that we look at when we're talking about, the food deliveries or the ride shares or short-term vehicles or vehicles that aren't necessarily in your name. But that's pretty few and far between, and doesn't really impact the trucking or courier industry as often. We see it more with the deliveries.
So then that takes me to the next question.
Sure.
And I think I pretty well know the answer, but I've got to go there anyway. As you know, there's a certain sector of the market right now that is generically referred to as the driver Inc. model, where the driver is essentially, you know, a personal service bureau entity where operating a vehicle that is not owned or in their name, it's owned in either the company name or a company that's not quite at arm's length to the CVOR holder. Am I hearing that WSIB is not considering that an independent operator?
No, because independent operator is really if you're able to operate independently, like you own your own truck or you have your own truck that you are then using for different jobs or for your own purposes. If you are using someone else's vehicle or someone owns the vehicle, I have somebody and I'm employing casual drivers, I'm an employer at that point. I'm not an independent operator. Or my I guess the people I am getting to drive are not independent operators. They require me. There's a dependence. So they are not independent operators.
So in that case, there's an expectation and requirement that the employer is remitting the WSIB payments for the
Yes.
payroll.
Yeah. So if they own the vehicle and they're hiring drivers, they're employers as far as we're concerned.
So
Okay, John?
I'm going to jump in and ask, how are we confirming that to be the case? Unfortunately, we know numerous motor carriers that are quite on board with making sure that they paint their drivers as an independent for the purposes of not having to remit WSI premiums.
Yes. And that's not something that's exclusive to the trucking industry by any means.
Yes, there's number of industries doing it.
I was
Yeah.
gonna say there's always someone looking for a workaround or some way to circumvent.
Yeah.
I mean, we have to do our due diligence when we're looking at those VIN numbers, right? That's where we're going to lean on our dealer, or I keep calling them dealer principals because of a previous industry that I worked with, but our principals, we're going to be leaning on them a little bit to verify that the VINs are in fact in that person's name and they are driving those VINs. But unfortunately, there's not a way for us to stop all of that sort of, I don't want to say nonsense, but all of that kind of behaviors. What I would encourage, if ever there's any red flags, we do have a tips line that we have that that people can call into. We also, if you're not comfortable calling, we do have what we call an SI leads email address on our website where you can actually write in and provide any, you know, supporting documents that you may feel are pertinent for our investigators to take a look at.
Yep. Cool.
Okay, well, I think that answers all of my questions. Been very informative. Thank you. What, John? What about you? You got some more? Or
no, it's been very, very helpful. Lots of clarity and whatnot. So it's good to see. So now this goes into effect when?
It is in effect as we speak. We have got it set up now that we can email this information to our owner operators, to our principals. They just need to let us know and consent to their email address being used.
Okay. So the previous form we knew as the 1149A.
Yes.
What is the slang term for the new form?
The new form is the 1068. 1068-7. So it's 10,687A.
Okay.
It doesn't have the same flow to it as the old form did. But it is really just the transportation industry independent operator status form.
Sure. Basically 2 trigger points. If you change the employer, you need to update the status, or if you change the vehicle with new VIN number, then we need to change that status.
Yeah. So, but going forward, so if they have this new status where it's by VIN, we don't need to know anything until they change the vehicle.
Right.
If they're operating on the old form, and they have a new principal, yes, we can do that so that they get the new form that has that disclaimer that this form is good for, or this letter is good for all principals.
Great. Cool. Good deal.
Excellent. Excellent. Thank you so much.
I hope that helps.
Very much.
I feel like it's quite a bit less work for, like I said, everybody involved.
Sure.
If
it's definitely quicker. Definitely quicker and an improvement compared to going through. Because I mean, you know, the old method was, as you say, burdensome and time consuming. You know, you're sitting there and you're waiting. Well.
Cool. Good deal. Awesome.
Yes. I think that's it. We're good.
Excellent.
All right.
Perfect. Well, thank you very much, Jackie. This has been very insightful. Perfect. Well,
All right.
thank you very
right.
much.
Thank
Appreciate
you
Thanks,
both.
Jackie.
Like I
Yeah.
said, if you have any questions, you know where to find me. Have a great
Will
day.
do.
We've got your contact info
Yeah.
now.
All right. Thanks so much.
Awesome.
great
Thank
day.
you,
Take
Jackie.
care.
Take
Bye-bye.
care.
Bye.
Have a good weekend.